Choosing a cruise is a very personal experience. One person's perfect cruise is another's nightmare. There are two cruise lines, both considered luxury, which we have found to be exceptional in meeting our needs as 60-something travelers. They are Crystal Cruises and Silversea Cruises. Both cruise lines offer exceptional luxury and service and all-inclusive packaging, but your choice may depend on your budget, preferred destinations, and the type of onboard experience you seek. We will attempt to compare and contrast these two cruise favorites in 11 categories: the fleet, food and beverage, service, dress code, onboard space, entertainment, onboard activities and amenities, family considerations, destinations and itineraries, excursions, price and value. Crystal currently has 2 ships, and they're nearly identical on board. 2 new ships were ordered in June 2024 for delivery from 2028 onwards. Silversea, on the other hand, has 12 ships, with the 2 newest ships being the largest, each accommodating 728 passengers. There are 4 ships that can hold about 600 passengers, 2 ships that hold 392 passengers, and then 4 expedition-sized ships, all accommodating fewer than 275 guests. So for sheer numbers and array of choices, Silversea wins this category. Since the purchase of Crystal in 2022 by Abercrombie & Kent, the line has upped its game significantly with regard to dining. Both ships feature the specialty dining venue Umi Uma by Michelin star chef Nobu Matsuhisa. In February 2024, Crystal announced the addition of Beef Bar, a highly successful worldwide brand born in Monte Carlo. And in August of 2024, they announced a collaboration with Max Alaimo, the youngest chef in the world to have received 3 Michelin stars. Alaimo and his brother Raf will bring their expertise to specialty dining venue Osteria de Video on both ships. Crystal's Umi Uma is exceptional in every way, but the menu does not change much. So 2 visits to this dining room in one cruise is plenty. We did not experience Crystal's vintage room, but we heard good things from those who did. This intimate space features guided pairings and dinners highlighting the ship's onboard wine cellars. The one area where we feel Crystal could improve is in-suite dining. Although available free of charge and 24 hours a day, the menu available to most suites and guest rooms is limited. By the way, you can see a complete guide to all the food and beverage aboard Crystal ships at the link above or below. The real star for Crystal is Waterside, the main dining room on both Crystal ships. It is phenomenal, especially when you consider they change the menu every day. Silversea's specialty restaurant, La Dame, on the other hand, had the exact same menu on our last cruise as it did on a cruise we took 12 months earlier. Silversea, however, does get extra credit for unlimited caviar and better pizza, much better, and a few more dining venues. And the Arts Cafe, which is a much different space than anything on Crystal ships. And with Silversea's all-around dining, you can have food delivered anywhere on the ship. One night, we threw a small cocktail party in the observation library and had some light bites and caviar delivered. For a complete guide to dining on one of Silversea's ships, see the video at the link above or below. On Crystal, we especially like the daily canapé service delivered by our butler. Of course, on Silversea, you can ask your butler for similar service, but with Crystal, it's a daily ritual and is included with all suite categories aboard Crystal. And the Crystal Cove Bar has an extensive cocktail menu with 17 different gin and tonic combinations, each featuring a unique garnish. Overall, after all the pluses and minuses, our experience with both lines gives the nod in this category to Crystal, but by the slimmest of margins. This is a tough one to judge because both cruise lines are just so darn good. Both cruise lines offer butler service in all cabin categories. Both cruise lines have a nearly 1-to-1 guest-to-staff ratio. On Silversea, you'll see more Filipino and other workers from Asia, whereas Crystal seems to have more workers from Eastern Europe. On our first morning with Silversea, I asked for Bailey's Irish Cream with my coffee, and although I had them scrambling because the bars were closed, eventually they did deliver a side of Bailey's to me. Not only that, the next morning I was greeted with, "Good morning, Mr. Bailey's," and they had my favorite creamer waiting for me. When I asked for Bailey's with breakfast coffee on Crystal, they made no effort to get it to me. So I went back to our suite, grabbed my bottle, and took it to our table. Another example of Silversea's great service, when number 1 asked for some vegetable broth for breakfast, they did not have any, but they asked if that was something Madame would like, and they made it for her every day thereafter and delivered it wherever we were on the ship. On Crystal, we did have one bad experience with a crew member, and our traveling companions also had a bad experience on Crystal. So with no bad experiences ever with crew on Silversea, and at least 2 examples of extra effort, Silversea wins this category. I would say Crystal Cruises is a bit more strict about their dress code. Crystal's website has what they call suggestions for each dress code category. For instance, formal evening wear for men suggests suits or tuxedos. Ties are optional. One formal evening on Crystal, I did see a gentleman passenger about to enter the main dining room wearing a collared shirt and slacks. He was asked to return to his cabin and grab a sport coat. On Silversea, we never saw anyone denied entry to a venue due to a dress code violation. Now, that doesn't mean it never happens, it's just that we never saw it. While I personally have no problem with a formal dress code, I once did feel badly for our traveling companion on Crystal. He chafed at the idea of adhering to a dress code of any kind, especially considering the amount of money he was spending each day. In any event, we give the nod to Silversea in this category, as I think the industry trend is towards a less formal and relaxed shipboard attitude. Crystal's ships seem to have a lot of unused space right now, but with the recent addition to each ship of a casino and the restaurant Beef Bar, that will surely eat up some of the vast wasteland. The biggest difference, we would say, about onboard space between the 2 cruise lines is art. Silversea seems to have spent much more time and effort appointing the public spaces with beautiful and interesting sculptures and wall hangings. As for the private spaces, we'd say the biggest difference is that Crystal still has some suites that have not been updated with more wall and bedside outlets for modern-day electronics. For example, if you want a bathtub on a Crystal ship, you'll need to book a classic design. But these suites have not been updated with the latest outlets. So Silversea wins this category. One of the very best things about cruising for us is being able to enjoy some live music before and after dinner. It's something we really can't do easily when we're at home. Crystal has 2 venues with pianos, and when there's no pianist, you may find a violinist or a guitarist. Either way, we were very impressed with the skills of all these performers. Both Crystal and Silversea have large productions with dancing and singing, and they were equally good. But Crystal has some headliners who come aboard for a week or 2, and the ones we saw were outstanding. We give the nod to Crystal in this category. onboard amenities are fairly equivalent on both Silversea and Crystal. There's all the typical features you'd expect: swimming pools, hot tub spas, deck games. Both lines have generous space dedicated to health and wellness, including nice-sized fitness rooms and spas. As for activities, Silversea has daily trivia and bingo when at sea, and Crystal does not. We feel Silversea has more instructional classes and demonstrations and better guest lectures. Silversea wins this category. If you're traveling with children, neither line is a better choice in our view. There is some dedicated space for younger travelers on both lines, and Crystal offers babysitting services in your cabin or suite. Crystal's website says they offer a youth program on select voyages. Silversea Cruises is more geared toward adults. A few sailings include a staffed youth program, but on most cruises there's no dedicated kids program, so parents are responsible for supervising and entertaining their children. In the end, neither line wins this category. Most all itineraries are similar when comparing Crystal and Silversea. They both go to all parts of the globe. The biggest difference in this category is that Crystal does not have any expedition ships, those smaller, more nimble vessels that take passengers to places like Antarctica and the Galapagos Islands. So Silversea wins this category. Silversea includes excursions in all fares. Crystal does not. Now, while that might seem like a good deal and a reason to give Silversea a win in this category, you really need to consider what kind of excursions you want and how much you're willing to pay for them. If you simply want to tour around in a large bus and listen to a well-informed guide, point out local features, and recount the history of the area, the excursions included with Silversea may be just the thing for you. But for us, buying a cruise excursion is best employed when it's more than just driving or walking about a city. Most of the excursions we've taken on Silversea were not included in the fare. We paid extra for them, and there have been some very memorable ones, such as the helicopter flight and glacier walkabout. And the visit to a musher dog summer camp.
Hi, thank you so much. Thank you so much. You did a wonderful job today. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I'll take whichever one. If you wouldn't mind, give me another one. But your call, obviously.
Oh my gosh.
I'm a sucker. Yes.
Hi.
One of the best excursions we've ever experienced was on a recent Crystal cruise. We were transported to the ancient ruins of Ephesus for an evening concert. When we arrived, it looked much like a wedding reception: white-glove servers, appetizers, and libations. And the concert itself was spectacular. Again, this was not included in our fare price, but well worth the extra charge, and something we appreciated since someone else organized the whole affair. So deciding a winner in this category is tough, but it really does come down to value and what's included in your fare. That said, because some basic excursions are included in Silversea fares, they win this category. Which brings us to our final ranking of this video, and that is price and value. Point blank, Crystal is more expensive, especially if you factor in the size of guest rooms and cabins. Here are some examples. We paid a little more than $2,000 per night for our last Crystal cruise, nearly twice what we paid for a huge 746 square foot silver suite on a recent Silversea cruise. That's 37% larger than the suite we had on Crystal. If you really want to be geeky about it, here are the per person per night per square foot numbers. It's important to note we had originally booked a smaller suite with Silversea, but just 3 days before departure, we received an email offering upgrades. For an extra $100 per person per night, we doubled the size of our cabin. That said, if you don't care about the size of your space and you don't want to take a repositioning cruise, you could sail with Crystal for as little as about $400 per night per person. That's for the smallest cabin, and it's 2/3 the size of Silversea's smallest guest room. Silversea, on the other hand, now has the cheapest essential fares. Shore excursions are not included and payment is non-refundable. Taking advantage of this fare means you could sail with Silversea for as little as $370 per person per night, and your cabin would be 50% larger than the cheapest Crystal cabin. So when deciding between Crystal and Silversea, seasoned cruisers often advise basing your choice on the destination. Both lines offer exceptional quality, so the decision may hinge on which line is traveling to your desired location at the right time. Though differences are subtle, the most significant contrast lies in the size of the ships each line operates. In summation, we feel Crystal Cruises does have better food and entertainment. But Silversea gets the edge in all other categories, including, arguably, the most important consideration: value for your hard-earned dollar, euro, or yen. If we could book a Crystal cruise at a price comparable to Silversea, we would. Otherwise, Silversea will likely win the battle for our cruise dollars. Please post any comments or questions below. Thanks for watching, and bon voyage.